Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure you know how this works, but if you're new, before continuing the story, please pause the video and go watch the previous episodes of this series, since you might get lost if you're not caught up. The link to the series playlist will be down in the description below. Now, with that said, let's begin. Horizons, Part 3, Endgame, Chapter 19, A Cold Truth. The Golden Horizon pulls into the harbor of Snowpoint City. A terrible blizzard has blown in from the east and no one can see a foot in front of their face. Dante and Violet are even fearful of leaving the yacht, but they want to get to the Pokémon Center so Violet can start preparing for her next gym battle. They are not dressed for this sort of weather, but they brave it regardless and head out into the storm. They follow the lights from the harbor that lead into town, but those soon become useless when the storm wind blows down a power line, and soon they are in the storm blind. "This isn't good, Dante. We should head back," Violet says, trying to talk over the howl of the wind. "Good idea," he yells back, barely able to see her. "Take my hand so we don't lose each other in this weather." Violet nods, and she takes hold of Dante's warm hand. They turn around to head back, but they can't even tell where they are now. The wind blows harshly, and they turn their backs to protect their faces. "We need to get inside," Dante says, and begins to pull Violet deeper into the blizzard. In the chaos of the storm, they struggle but manage to find themselves against tall evergreen trees. "Into the trees," Violet says, pushing Dante into the cover of the forest. The cold is getting to them now, but thankfully the trees do provide some cover from the storm. Visibility is still non-existent even in the cover of the trees. Dante holds a satchel up in front of him to protect both him and Violet from the stinging snow. Walking blind through the storm, the two end up colliding with a massive snow-covered shrub. "Dead end!" Dante nearly yells, his voice being drowned out by the howl of the wind. The massive shrub they hit slowly moves and begins turning around. Soon Dante and Violet are face to face with a towering Abomasnow. For a moment they only watch each other. Either out of desperation or something else, Violet asks the Pokemon for help in a frozen voice. The Abomasnow turns its head and steps to the side, revealing 15 more Abomasnow standing in a large circle protecting their young Snover from the harsh elements. The Abomasnow motions for Dante and Violet to enter the circle, and they head forward with caution. They are amazed to find that within the circle the temperature is much warmer than outside. The young Snover look at the newest member to the circle and they converse amongst themselves before welcoming them. "This is amazing," Dante says. "The Abomasnow are blocking the storm and keeping their young warm with their bodies." "They're ice types, though. Shouldn't they be thriving in the storm?" Violet questions. Dante kneels down to greet one of the tiny Snover. "They're newborns. They need all the protection they can get." The little Snover sways with joy in its eyes and pulls off a berry that is growing on its belly. It hands it up to Dante and he takes it with a smile. He pops it in his mouth and is amazed with how sweet the berry is. Violet walks over to Dante and sits on the snow-covered ground with a defeated look in her eyes. "Violet, what's wrong?" he says, sitting down next to her. "If I didn't want to rush headlong into my next gym battle and waited for the storm to pass, we wouldn't be stuck in this storm freezing to death." "Don't, Vi. It's not your fault. I went right along with you," Dante says, moving a little closer to her. "I'm cold," she says pitifully. Dante puts his arm around her and pulls her close to share his warmth. Violet rests her head on his shoulder and snuggles into him. "At least we're not going to freeze to death out here," she says quietly. "I wouldn't let that happen, Vi. Never," Dante says, softly looking down at her. Violet looks up at him. Never in her life has anyone made her feel more safe, and she couldn't be happier that she is in his arms. She leans upward, moving closer to his lips. "Vi, what are you—" "Oh, Dante, just shut up and kiss me already," she says breathlessly. Dante indulges her and gives in to his own feelings and leans down and brings his lips to hers. He cradles the back of her head and kisses her with the full passion he has been holding back since he first saw her for who she really is. They break the kiss and both gasp for a quick breath before giving in and returning to their passion as the storm rages around the circle of Abomasnow. Hours pass before the storm ends. Dante and Violet have fallen asleep in each other's arms and the Snover danced and played around them. Before they all depart, the alpha Abomasnow that let them in wakes the two up before leaving and points them in the direction of Snowpoint City. They give them their thanks and they go on their own ways. Dante and Violet find a buried city with people and Pokemon working furiously to clear the streets. Thankfully, the roads leading to the Pokemon Center is clear. They walk the cleared streets with snow towering over them on either side. They realize how lucky they were to find the Obama snow. Dante and Violet sign in and get their rooms. After telling their tale to the nurses, they are given warm blankets and large bowls of hot soup. They sit together in the lounge and slowly eat. Both are afraid to even bring up what had occurred in the frozen forest. So, Dante starts, was that because of the situation, or was that real? He asks meekly. Violet sips on the soup and looks at him with flushed cheeks. Real, she says, averting her gaze. The sides of Dante's mouth turn upward and he goes back to his soup in a happy silence. Once they are warm and had their fill, they decide to call it a night and they both walk to their rooms. Before entering, Violet reaches up and places a soft kiss on Dante's cheek and heads into her room. Dante smiles and touches the spot and enters his room. The door locks shut and the hallway falls silent. Violet's door slowly opens with a creak. She looks at Dante's door and dashes out from her room and down the hall. Before they sat down to eat, Violet checked the PC for any messages, and there was one from an unknown source telling her to come to the frothy cloister. She knew instantly that it was from Rowan's contact. Violet leaves the Pokémon Center and follows the cleared roads to the docks where the old bar is located. She finds the bar right on the docks under a large cargo crane. She enters the establishment and the odors of smoke and alcohol fill her senses. Violet walks to the bar and orders a shot of Magmar whiskey. Isn't that a bit much for you, girl? An older man in a faded trench coat says while taking a drag off a cigarette. She pays the bartender and downs the shot of dark amber liquid without even flinching. I've had stronger, she says coldly. The old man laughs and picks up his scotch and raises it to her. More power to you, then. Violet looks over at him and he is already looking at her, studying her. It seems our mutual friend has arranged our meeting, he says with an air of mystery. Let's get a booth. He stands with his drink and walks over to the corner and sits in a booth. Violet follows and joins him. So, what do I call you? Violet questions. The old man takes one last pull off his cigarette and puts it out. Name's Looker. Was International Police. So, what have you found about him? Looker says, and continues to nurse his scotch. He's a lonely man with more money than he knows what to do with. Violet starts sarcastically. Looker sighs and stares daggers at her. Tell me something the media hasn't already figured out, he snaps. What is he planning? He plans to summon Arceus. Looker looks down into his scotch and downs the rest of it. He motions the bartender to bring him another. I'm going to need to be drunk for this one. He sighs and looks at Violet. Why does he want to do that? Violet waits for the bartender to bring Looker another scotch and leaves them alone. He wants to ask it to help him protect the world, Violet finally answers. He plans more than that. Whatever he is planning is much bigger. The man and his organization have been collecting tech from around the world, from the ashes of fallen terrorist teams. What tech? Violet demands. From what I've been able to gather, Team Flare's research on the ancient superweapon. Team Plasma's designs for the airship they use to freeze half the region. Team Aqua and Team Magma's notes on the Azoth energy. And from what I heard, from Galactic, the means to bind legendary Pokémon. Looker says, a horribly bleak tone to his voice. Violet stares blankly at the table, trying to piece together all these new puzzle pieces. I need you to do one last thing for me, Looker asks. What? Looker slides an old rusty revolver across the table. Violet takes it in her hand and examines the old weapon. Stick close to that man, and if he truly can summon Arceus, you take that shot. End him. Looker says with almost a mad frenzy in his quiet, gritty voice. Violet takes hold of the revolver. I will. And that is the end of Chapter 19. Please leave feedback and your thoughts in the comments below. It helps me grow and change the story so it doesn't turn into something you don't want to listen to. Romance and deceit. Is Violet faking the whole thing? Can Dante really trust her? All feedback, negative and positive, is welcomed. If you enjoyed this video, please share the series around so others can enjoy it as well, and leave a like so I know you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter for updates on anything and everything Pokemon, as well as to know when all my videos go live. The link to my Twitter is in the description of the video. As always, this has been Black Phoenix. Thanks for watching.